fighter.
What does it taste like?
Is it real?
Yeah.
Do you watch it? Oh no, like, do you actually watch
This
it?
is what my head.
We're here with
Emily B.
Emily B. Where are you from, Emily?
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts. That's awesome. So for you, black guys or white guys?
Black guys.
Can you elaborate as to why specifically black guys?
Yes, black guys are melanated, and I want my children to survive. And I know that the only way for them to survive in the future is for them to have melanin in their skin. So that's the way for me to, make my legacy continue.
Okay.
Yo, this is ridiculous.
This is not funny!
Umbrella. She's up. Whole nother level of shit you can't even understand.
What is good, my people? We are live, back again with another episode of The Forecast. Now, we as a collective talk about how we need our own all the time. But at some point, there's going to be a time where we can't talk about it anymore. We have to be about it. And it's not like we have to reinvent the wheel. We're kept in the dark about a lot of our history, but we've done some great things. And our ancestors left us the blueprint. And the only difference between us and them is they understood what this society was about. Today, of course, we suffer from the illusion of inclusion. But back then, when you walk into a store and they won't even accept your money, it'll force you to make your own business. And they created these businesses in an environment where they weren't even thinking about a loan. They couldn't even go inside the bank. They understood they had to work together and put their resources together. And it didn't take them long to grow, because where else are all the black customers going to go? And they like to tell us all the time, pick yourself up by your bootstraps. But black people in America are the only ones to ever pick themselves up by their bootstraps. Every other group got handouts from the government, based on slave labor, by the way, from things like the Homestead Act and the GI Bill. And even today, immigrants coming into America benefiting from the civil rights movement. But we were still able to build Black Wall Streets all throughout America without any help, because none was available. In fact, they did the opposite and destroyed it. But we were the only group in America to actually lift ourselves up by our bootstraps. And we could easily do it again if we get over the illusion of inclusion. But this time we will have to be prepared for when they come. But instead, so many of us try to assimilate into the society and try to change the system from within. But the foundation of this system is your destruction. That's what it was built on. They can't let you take that away, because that'll destroy the whole system. You can't change the system, you have to destroy it. And when we really start to understand the system, we'll understand what we need to do. And we have to understand that it's in all areas. A lot of people have always talked about the racist history of organizations like the police, but a lot of people don't talk about the history of firefighters. How so many people weren't allowed to even be a firefighter because they were black. And even though there were firefighters in the late 1800s, of course the fire departments were segregated, which is fine to have black firefighters for black neighborhoods, but they're going to get the worst equipment and they couldn't do their job. But in a lot of places, fire stations were all white until the 1960s. And we already know about how they sprayed children with water hoses. And it got to the point where people were fighting firefighters like they were the police. And even though after the civil rights movement, a lot of the policies were changed, that same mindset still exists. In Florida, a brother, Simeon Brown, was shot by an off-duty firefighter on Super Bowl Sunday. Now let's see what led to an off-duty firefighter shooting this brother.
Right now at 6, new developments in a story you saw exclusively first on 10. Officers making an arrest in a Super Bowl block party shooting.
And we're learning the suspect is a local firefighter. Let's go to Local 10's Christian De La Rosa live now outside the Fort Lauderdale jail with the new information for us tonight. Christian.
And BSO just releasing details confirming what we first reported on Tuesday. We now know that the Margate Fire Department lieutenant is here at the main jail behind bars. Local 10 News is learning Margate Fire Rescue Lieutenant 39-year-old Lorne Brown was arrested just this morning.
Mr. Lorne Brown.
Detectives now confirming to Local 10 News he's the man who shot a gun into a moving vehicle on Super Bowl Sunday.
My brother tapped me and said, go, because I see a gun.
22-year-old Simeon Brown says he was behind the wheel, driving around a traffic cone near Southwest 91st Terrace and 52nd Court in Cooper City, where neighbors were having a Super Bowl block party Sunday.
They saw the car
and ambushed the car.
Brown's brother, also in the vehicle, says some of the neighbors at the party got angry. It's when they say Lorne took out his gun.
And so my brother starts to drive, and as he starts to drive, the dude let off 2 shots into the car.
The brothers say they crashed their car and got out trying to get away.
A fragment went up to my neck.
Shot in the arm, the wounded man claims his shooter chased and pinned him to the ground. His brother calling 911.
This is the same dude that just shot me. I said, "Sir, I can't breathe. I can't breathe." And he said, "I don't care. We should have killed you."
The lieutenant has been with the Margate Fire Department since 2004. He is suspended without pay as he's facing some very serious charges, including premeditated attempted first-degree murder and aggravated assault with a deadly weapon.
Now, this brother Simeon Brown was in the car with 3 other people trying to take his girlfriend home. But I guess the white neighbors had the road blocked off because there was an unauthorized Super Bowl block party. So this brother trying to get to where he had to go had to drive around the cones. But that's when that white arrogance kicked in. They think they can just make up any kind of rule or law as they go along, and you have to follow it. And you have to take all of their words as gospel. So when this brother drove around the cones, the white neighbors got mad. And they started yelling and cursing at him. And this brother kept it moving. But as he drove off, one of them kicked his car. So after he dropped his girlfriend off, he came back through. And that's when the off-duty firefighter, Lorne Brown, approached this brother's car with a gun. And he pointed the gun at him and told him to get out the car. But if some random white boy pull out a gun on you and you don't have a gun, why would you get out the car? So then when his brother saw the gun, he tried to pull off. And that's when his white boy, Lorne Brown, shot 2 shots into the car and hit this brother Simeon Brown. And they were able to get down the block a little bit, but they eventually crashed the car. So then this white boy, still with his gun, chased him down and then pinned down his brother Simeon Brown, even though he was already shot. And when his brother was trying to say, "What are you doing? I can't breathe. I can't breathe," he was saying, "I don't care." And he said, "We should have killed you." Now this brother Simeon Brown did survive and this white boy was arrested, but you already know they have to stay on code.
Latest on a Margate firefighter who is now facing some serious charges after a Super Bowl block party shooting.
The first responder turned suspect faced a judge today. Local 10 is live in Cooper City to tell us what happened in court. Alex Finney, fill us in.
All right, so these cars just apparently came speeding through this Cooper City neighborhood. The lieutenant, when he contacted police, said this didn't happen just once, it happened twice. And as his attorney explained in court today, all of that mixed with the uncertainty as to what would happen next is what caused him to pull out that gun and fire his weapon. Margate Fire Lieutenant Lorne Brown, who's been with the department since 2004, went before a judge on Friday. Detectives believe Lorne shot into a moving car, the bullet hitting the driver, Simeon Brown.
A fragment went up to my neck.
This happened Super Bowl Sunday in Cooper City. Lorne Brown, his brother, as well as his girlfriend and another woman, tell Local 10 they were on their way home and drove around traffic cones near Southwest 91st Terrace and 52nd Street, where a block party was happening. Neighbors became angry, and then what happened next?
They saw the car and ambushed the car.
Took them by surprise.
And so my brother starts to drive, and as he starts to drive, the dude let off 2 shots into the car.
That dude they're referring to, Lieutenant Brown, who they say then chased them down on foot.
Any comment from you guys about what we learned from court today?
Family saying nothing. His attorney saying this.
It appears to be a traditional application of stand your ground.
In court saying the lieutenant was concerned for his and the neighbor's safety.
And the fact that there are those out there that are making suggestions that this was somehow racially motivated disturbs him greatly.
All right, and this is what the attorney was saying in court. You seeing here, it's a very quiet neighborhood. It's filled with a lot of children, so there was a concern there. Apparently, the lieutenant also, he's very nervous for his family right now. They've been getting some threats on social media. Of course, both sides to this story. Still a lot to be unpacked here, but what I can tell you is that Lorne does face charges of attempted first-degree murder as well as shooting into a vehicle and aggravated assault with a firearm. At this hour, he is being held without bond.
Now, this white boy, Lorne Brown, was charged, but he's still on the fire department payroll. I guess if a firefighter shoot an unarmed black man, he get a paid vacation too. And his brother Simeon Brown, lawyer, said he was also the victim of a brutal arrest by the police after he was shot. But they did charge this white boy with attempted murder and held him without bond at first. But of course he used the good old "I fear for my safety and the safety of others" excuse. And this white boy lawyer said this is a traditional case of stand your ground, even though he shot this unarmed brother as he was driving away from him. But of course this white boy has to make himself the victim somehow.
Firefighters accused of shooting a driver during a Super Bowl block party in Cooper City.
And now we're learning a Miami police officer is also involved. Local 10 News reporter Terrell Fournay is live outside the Miami Police Department with the details on this one. The story just grows and grows, doesn't it, Terrell?
It's very interesting how everything is unraveling, Christy. This officer for the city of Miami was off duty at the time, apparently enjoying the festivities of this block party that did not even have the proper permits to operate. But today we have a much clearer picture of what led up to the gunfire. A newly released arrest warrant details the circumstances about the night an off-duty Margate Fire Rescue Lieutenant opened fire on a man who was behind the wheel of a car in Cooper City. Simeon Brown was shot several times on February 2nd as he attempted to drive around a roadblock of a Super Bowl block party. Investigators say the party was not even authorized. We've learned off-duty Miami police officer Marlon Arana also drew his weapon that night. The document says he told investigators that he believed the vehicle was going to hit people on the roadway. He raised his hand up, ran in front of the vehicle, pointed his gun at the vehicle, and began yelling for the vehicle to stop. He identified himself as a police officer, but never showed his badge.
My brother tapped me and said, go, because I see a gun.
The victim says neighbors became angry when he tried to maneuver around the blocked road. The police officer and firefighter both walked towards his car, which had 3 passengers in it, including a Miami-Dade Schools police officer. The firefighter, Lorne Brown, pulled the trigger, telling detectives, "I got in front of them. I pulled my gun out. I told them to get out of the car as they hauled expletive up to us. That's when they took off, and I shot 2 times at him, at the driver." The fire lieutenant was later arrested and charged with attempted murder.
This is the same dude that just shot me. I said, "Sir, I can't breathe. I can't breathe." He said, "I don't care. We should have killed you."
So at this point, that City of Miami police officer has not been charged with a crime, but we have reached out to the police department to see if perhaps he is facing any disciplinary action or even a comment about this situation. So far, we have not heard back.
Now it turns out the other person involved who also had a gun was an off-duty cop, Marlon Arana. He also approached the car with his gun out while he was off duty, which is why they pulled off. But they expect us just to obey their authority. Now the police said they didn't have a permit for the block party. They had no business blocking off the road. But they tried to pull this brother out of his car at gunpoint just because he drove around a cone that shouldn't have been there. And of course the cop Marlon Arana wasn't charged and the police won't speak on it. And even though the firefighter, Lorne Brown, was charged, he was released on bail and is still getting a paycheck from the fire department, being paid by tax dollars. But these are the organizations that we fight to be a part of. But if we put half of that energy into fighting to create our own and fighting to protect them, then we'll be a lot better off. Because this system was never designed for us. It was meant to destroy us, not help us. And us trying to assimilate and be a part of that system is driving us crazy. And until we get over the illusion of inclusion and learn that we're all we got, then the same thing is going to keep happening over and over.
We lived on, I don't know what would you call it, but something like a plantation to me. It belonged to several different white people. They all were family, I guess. And you couldn't leave. And if you did leave, they either come get you or have somebody kill you, whatever. That's what happened.
What they do to your mother?
They just have my mother, the white men. They just do what they want to do with her. And I just wasn't big enough to do nothing. If I would have been, I don't know, probably wouldn't be. And
this was in the 1950s or 40s?
That was on through the 40s, in the 50s, all through the 50s, and part of the 60s.
So what would the repercussions be if you tried to leave or if you tried to refuse what they wanted?
Back in them days, it was kind of like you had to do what the white man said or get killed. My daddy's uncle, he made him dig a grave and killed him. They killed him and buried him in his own grave. Jerry Dawson, they killed him. He lived around the same place we lived on. He left and said he wasn't coming back. They wouldn't got him, brought him back, carried him right down there from his house, killed him. Hung him up in a tree.
They hung him?
They killed him first, castorized him, and hung him up right from his house where his children, everybody could see him.
Growing up, were you fully aware, this is in the 40s and 50s, you know, the civil rights movement is just about to begin. Were you aware of what was going on in the rest of the country at that time for black people pursuing freedom?
No.
You weren't aware at all that there was any pursuits for freedom in the 40s and 50s for us?
No, not really.
Really? Are you serious? If I don't swipe my card. You just saw all these people go through the door. You allowed them. I did not. Please don't touch me. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Listen. Don't touch me. What are you doing? Listen. Do not. Don't touch me. Are you serious? I'm trying to go home. You said no, I can't go home. Are you insane? You're gonna arrest me for trying to go home. I'm not doing anything. You're no longer welcome to someone's business. Are you serious? That's exactly right, yeah. You really want to do that? Exactly right, yeah. That's great. Thank you so much.
This morning here at Westwood School in Hamden, the parents of that 5th grade student who last week, the day after Martin Luther King Day, was cast as a slave in a class play. Well, the parents came here with the NAACP and some other parents to get some answers about this play from school officials. Hamden public school officials say that late last week, several days after a 5th grade teacher cast students in a play about the transatlantic slave trade, that the teacher used instructional resources that had not been approved.
The scene starts with nameless slaves 1 and 2 getting pushed towards the ship.
That couple's daughter was cast as one of the slaves.
And a child is enacting the slave owner. The slave owner is instructed to crack a whip at her children and to make sure they were scared.
The Parkers say their daughter has been bullied since word got out that they complained about her role as a slave.
She was crying, she was upset because a couple kids came to her and said, "You got Ms. Grabars fired. You did this," and that's not the case.
Rachel Grabars is the 5th grade social studies teacher whose intent was to use the play to teach the history of slavery. She's been suspended with pay pending the outcome of the investigation.
The teacher under suspension who brought this play forward was begging for material to teach her kids.
She says because of problems with the internet at the school, the teacher didn't have access to her regular curriculum.
You do not do the slave reenactments. You do not do blackface. There's ways to teach slavery that's critical, that's empathetic, and what people can learn.
In addition to being a Hamden parent, he's an associate professor of history at Connecticut College. And the school system has asked him for his insight.
We can sit down, look at the curriculum. I'm also part of the statewide measure to include more African American Latinx history. So there's an effort.
Hamden officer now the focal point of an investigation after a video showing him appearing to have a student in a chokehold goes viral.
Our Haley Brooks has been following this story and joins us with reaction from the student who's in that video. Haley.
Donna Kevin, it all took place this morning at Camden Fairview High School. This student who appears to be in a chokehold is a 9th grader. We sat down with him today. Here's what he had to say.
I fear for my life. Dakarion Ellis is the student you can see in this video, where Camden High School Resource Officer Jake Perry appears to have him in a chokehold. You can see Ellis appears to be lifted backward by his neck to the point where his feet are off the ground for 10 seconds. Ellis says it all started because of a fight with another student. A police officer pushed the kids off of me and he grabbed me and started choking me and putting me on the glass. But it appears to have ended with Perry's arm around Ellis's neck as he's escorted off. Perry has since been relieved of his duties pending the investigation into his use of excessive force.
The minute that I found out that there was what appeared to be misconduct on his behalf, we took actions to stop it, that it couldn't continue.
Police Chief Boyd Woody says Perry has been with the department for 2 years and has a sparkling record, but the family says the community knows a different story.
I've got inboxes from people that don't know me, but they knew the officer that was in the video. And one word they described with him was a bully.
It's clear the now viral video shook up the Ellis family.
Another second or two, he would have been dead. And I didn't want to go bury my grandson.
With an incident they say was totally preventable.
He should have put his hand behind his back. That would have been the appropriate way to handle the situation.
I didn't know what was going to happen.
In a statement released by Police Chief Woody, he says Perry has been relieved of duty pending the investigation. The chief also clearly states that this type of misconduct will not be tolerated and says he will be transparent during the investigation.
Civil rights leaders want RTA bus driver Ricky Wagner fired from his job and charged with a crime. They say his lies could have triggered serious racial problems in the community. Special contributor Natasha Williams has reaction.
Let's go, fellas. Keep it going.
As Team Crushers prepare for their state Little League game, coach and dad Stephen Moore watches 2 of his 3 sons play, practice, and prepare for the big game.
It's already hard enough on our youth that we don't need no extra pressure on the young guys.
These young guys earned a trip to the state Little League baseball tournament, and Moore and other coaches who are also dads are keeping them busy.
But for the most part, as parents, you got to stay busy with them. You got to know what your kids are doing.
He could have incited a riot inside of our community.
Dayton civil rights leaders from the NAACP, the SCLC, the Black Panthers, and the Black Legion hold a joint news conference about Ricky Wagner, the RTA bus driver who claimed he was attacked by 3 black guys when his bus broke down in West Dayton. Police investigations found that Wagner's claims could not be proven, but Wagner, who is white, was not charged with the crime. That has these leaders asking lots of questions, mainly why.
If nothing else, he induced panic in the city. If he fired the gun inside the city limits, that's another charge.
All the leaders also want Wagner fired from the RTA.
All African-American males in the community are not thugs and are not trying to shoot and rob. We have some very good young people in this community who are making some great contributions.
Back at the baseball diamond, Moore agrees. He can't help but feel sad, though, that someone would stereotype kids like his and others in the black community. But he says he will use the situation to motivate his team and his sons to work harder to change some opinions.
You got to be hands-on. You got to try. You got to really put your whole 100% into it.
This school district was thrust into the national spotlight after a parent asked another parent why he didn't stay in Mexico. Now this lawsuit shedding some light on the tension leading up to that moment.
Then why did you stay in Mexico?
This moment all stems from a group of students posting racist messages about black classmates on Snapchat. Now, 4 of those students who posted the messages are suing the Saline school system. The lawsuit states because the Snapchats did not occur on school grounds, but on private property, the students should not have been suspended, alleging the students' rights were violated. This Saline High School senior says he was the target of one of those messages.
Never thought in a million years I'll be called, the N-word. It's my first time ever experiencing race, like racial, slurs towards me or slandering my name like that. So
from teammates?
From teammates, yes. I hurt my feelings and scarred me for life.
Now other students are coming to his defense and the defense of others, creating a list of demands for administrators, including a formal way to report hate speech, a more diverse workforce within the school system, and diversity training for teachers, staff, and administrators. Students want these changes to be made within the next 2 months.
I'm a junior, so I'm here for another year, but I want that to happen as soon as possible. I want that changed now.
The Saline School Board plans on holding more meetings regarding race and open discussions about race within the next 2 weeks.
Students walk out of class at OU after a journalism professor uses a racial slur. News 4's Chase Horn is at OU tonight. And Chase, exactly how did this slur come up during the classroom?
Well, Kevin, it was in Dr. Peter Gade's class. Apparently, they were having a discussion about using social media to show bias in students. That's when students say Gade thought that they were just trying to say, "Okay, boomer," in a nice way. That's when Gade said the racial slur, comparing it to the phrase, "Okay, boomer."
The one that ended with an R, like Old South.
Sarah Beth Cabrera says she was in class this morning when Dr. Gade compared saying "Okay, boomer" to the racial slur. She says students were shocked when the word came out of the mouth of a professor they all respect. We're told one student actually stood up to call Gade out, while others just walked out.
On their way out, Dr. Gade said, "Never have I been so disrespected in my life," which really had me taken aback because he's never been so disrespected in his life.
Guevara says he spent the rest of the class trying to get everyone back on track and even used free speech to justify what he said. She says Gade eventually did apologize very briefly. In response to Gade using the slur during class, the OU Black Emergency Response Team made this statement on Twitter, quote, "We do not condone or accept this behavior from any member of the OU community, regardless of occupation or student status. This will not be tolerated or accepted, and we will expect full action to be taken against the professor and college." Gade has been a member of the faculty for more than 2 decades, and Guevara says no journalism student can graduate without taking his class. We did reach out to the university. Interim President Joseph Harris sent us this statement, which reads in part, "While the professor's comments are protected by the First Amendment and academic freedom, his comment and word choice are fundamentally offensive and wrong." We pressed a little harder, asking OU spokeswoman if that means Gade won't be punished. She told us that the investigation is ongoing and the university is determining what the next steps will be.
As a Latino student, as a minority student, I don't want to go back to class. Like, I'm not even black and I don't want to go back to class, and I can't imagine how my black brothers and sisters are feeling right now.
Now, in about the last 10 to 15 minutes, the university did send us another statement about how they plan to move forward. The statement does start by saying that the First Amendment does protect the professor from any sanctions, so there will not be any sanctions, but it does go on to say that the administration has met with students throughout the day, and again on Thursday, students that were in the class itself will have an opportunity to meet with Gaylord College leadership to voice concerns and have a conversation about moving forward. The student we spoke with says she would at the very least like to see Gade have racial sensitivity training. At the very most, she would like for another professor to take over his class for the rest of the semester.
Still struggling to cope with the tragic loss of Kobe Bryant. And while most are praising Bryant's career and the impact he made on LA, one teacher was caught on tape bad-mouthing him.
Yes, and that video has gone viral. CBS 2's Dave Lopez talked to students at where this all happened in East LA.
He was one of the most selfish players. He ruined the Lakers. He put them probably 2 to 3 years into rebuilding at the end of his career.
The man talking about Kobe Bryant on this cell phone video has been identified by students as Mr. Brian Bailey, the band teacher at Garfield High School in East Los Angeles.
What made him a great basketball player also made him a horrible basketball player and a horrible person.
It was Monday morning during beginning guitar class when he asked the students how their weekend was. According to 14-year-old Wayne Gray, who was in the class, 2 of the students were wearing Kobe Bryant jerseys. They answered it was a terrible weekend because of what happened to Kobe. And then Gray said for the next 4 minutes, he recorded what Mr. Bailey said about Kobe.
Someone has to get this on camera, so that's what I did.
Is there any reason in God's green earth you need to take a helicopter from Orange County to Calabasas?
The voice of the student mumbling what appears to be an objection, but we can't clearly make out what he said.
It's bad, but it's his opinion, so, we can't really do anything about that.
He said no one in the class tried to interrupt him or stopped him. They were just shocked. And the video went viral on campus today.
I didn't think he was going to talk negative about him. I thought he was going to say something good.
But he cheated on his wife, he raped a young girl who was a selfish basketball player. Someone needs to say it.
No comment from the school district, and our requests to talk to Mr. Bailey were ignored. In a message sent out this morning to all parents, the school principal explained that negative comments had been made about Kobe Bryant in a classroom, no details, and it also said, we also ask that everyone please be sensitive to others when discussing tragic events both inside and outside of the classroom.
If he asks me, why did you record me, I'm going to tell him because you were being disrespectful.
And no response from the district when asked, did Mr. Bailey go too far or will he be disciplined?
It's been really crazy, honestly.
At Camas High School,
I'm sure a lot of students are just looking forward to getting back to normal.
it was a week marked with safety concerns, planned walkouts, a school lockdown, and on Friday, Principal Liza Sikora's resignation.
Today, accepted the resignation of Camas High School Principal Dr. Liza Sikora.
On Tuesday, Superintendent Jeff Snell placed Dr. Sikora on administrative leave after she received threats in response to a personal Facebook post she wrote about Kobe Bryant the day he died. The district was already investigating the post, which said, "Not gonna lie, seems to me that karma caught up with a rapist today." Sikora later apologized.
It was in poor taste. I regret that.
But many students feel the damage was already done.
It's been really hectic. A lot of my classes have been interrupted. Aside from that, there's been mass hysteria at the school. Lots of students have been leaving.
It shouldn't have been said, and so I think the resignation was the best choice moving forward, because personally I know that after this, I wouldn't have been able to trust her as my principal.
We found former Camas students who disagreed.
I'm really sad that she's gone now.
Tyler Toddley and Ozzy Gonzalez graduated in 2018. They started a Facebook page called Friends of Liza Sikora.
We just felt a need to kind of try to find a group of people to rally behind her.
I think that someone in her position with that sort of influence over the students should be more considerate of what she had to say, but I don't think this response I don't think it's right. I think it's out of line. I think it's been blown out of proportion completely.
Following her resignation, the district shared a statement from Dr. Sikora that read in part, "Students and staff deserve to have a learning environment free of disruptions."
Having a decision like this allows for some closure, and maybe we can move forward and get back to business.
It's what students want for their school and community.
Because of your hurt and your trauma, you want to take it out on
because of what people need to be recognizing.
But he's not a rapist. He's not a rapist. Exactly. He's a hero and a hero.
More than basketball, though. Why is it basketball like that's I fully support everything he said with his daughter, and that women could be part of the NBA. Okay, that so you just chose. You don't even know he raped her. However, to ignore his rape, to ignore his victim, you don't know that.
They dropped the charges. They dropped the charges. She even came out and said she didn't even get raped.
You don't know that, but
she dropped the charges. She dropped the charges.
He possibly did it, and it
so why she drop the charges? Then why she drop the charges? Why did she drop the charges? Why did she drop the charges?
She bragged about it to her coworkers?
How did she brag about it?
Obviously, you didn't follow it too well. She bragged about his man.
She don't even know what she's talking about.
It's public document.
Didn't make any sense.
Nigga, I just drove an hour and a half to come see this shit. You gonna do that stupid shit?
That's what I'm saying. I just brought my kids from San Antonio to see it.
You gonna do that stupid shit?
And you just ruined it. Yeah.
You see everybody over here saying, you ain't sorry. You're not sorry. You're not sorry. You're not sorry. So why are you saying it then? So why are you saying it then?
To a woman when she was 19 years old.
So why you saying you sorry? So why you saying you sorry? You don't mean it. Nigga, Kobe ain't no fucking rapist. They dropped the charges.
He's a rapist.
No, he's not. They dropped the charges.
No, he's not. I want to hear you, but give me 1 second. This is part of this. It's not just about Kobe. It's about all the misconceptions on how rape and rape cases are treated. Hold on. You start crying and shit.
Because that
I'm really happy you're recording now while you mock me while I cry.
But what I'm telling you is, it's your trauma that you're hurt.
Not forget that. You don't know that. You don't know that. You just wrote it. You don't know that.
You just vandalized.
You know that he is not. Okay, so what the fuck? Why would you do that? I know.
If you want people to have compassion for you, why don't you have compassion for someone's death? And people are mourning.
Out of this, for me.
That's what I'm. Why do it then?
I'm saying.
Well, you want people. No, you want people to. No, listen. The compassion you want.
I wasn't looking for compassion.
The compassion you're asking for is to feel for rapists and feel for. No, not feel for people who've been raped.
What's your name?
Feel for the court system, right?
What's your name?
That's what you said. That's what you asked. That is exactly what you asked. You want compassion. Be proud of people who went through the legal system because of rape.
What's your name?
You want compassion. Be proud of
it.
Right? So you should have compassion for people mourning someone's death.
I have compassion for the people mourning his death. I mourn his death.
If you did, you wouldn't have done that.
You ruined
You wouldn't have done that.
What we're doing right now.
You know what ruined my memory was when he raped somebody.
How did that ruin?
Were you there?
That's what I'm saying.
Were you there?
Don't know that.
You don't know that
So why would, yeah, okay, but innocent until proven guilty, dumbass. And innocent until proven guilty.
So what's your name?
Innocent until proven guilty.
What's your name? What's your name?
You know, this is gonna go on social media.
She's a coward. She's not gonna say her fucking name. What is your name? For what? You don't even know what I do.
For vandalism. That's vandalism.
Okay, so if you have if you believe that that ain't nothing gonna happen, then what's your name? Tell your story. Tell your story to the camera.
My name is Kate.
Yeah. Kate lying. Kate what?
Give me a second. You can look it up and then you'll go, yeah, she'd probably do this. My name is Kate. Kate Branham. I go by Kate Boyce.
You're crying because you don't know if someone was raped or not raped.
You haven't listened.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
It's not about Kobe. I mean, it is. It's not just about his victim. It's not just about me. It's not about, did this person rape this person? Did this person do this? It's about the court systems.
Okay, but that's
to
not
say his that
fault.
because he didn't do rape because he wasn't charged of it.
He was charged. He was acquitted.
Talk to me. And why was he acquitted? Why was he?
Knowledge is power. Knowledge is power.
Decided to not go for it. Correct?
She dropped the case and she took the money.
And why did she drop the case?
She took the money
because
though.
The prosecution said the case wasn't strong enough.
That's it. That's all that happened.
I just want to follow up on this Gayle King story really quick, Rev. You've been talking about it for the past several days. We brought it up a couple days ago. I still got to say, again, let's put it in the starkest terms. A black woman who is a journalist has her life threatened from a guy who has 39 million people.
The Post is still up.
The Post is still up. She faces threats and abuse. Her children are now facing threats and abuse.
24-hour security.
Gayle King now has to have 24-hour security. And I'll be damned. Have I read the New York Times editorialize about it? No. What's all your bullshit about protecting journalists when you have a black woman whose life was threatened? Nothing there. Wall Street Journal, nothing.
Wait,
what are you doing?
Viacom
what are you
CBS?
doing? Where's Viacom CBS? Has the USA Today done it? Where are you? A black female journalist's life has been threatened. She and her children fear for their lives. And you aren't writing about this?
Well, where's corporate America? Because there are people.
Where is corporate America? Where is Viacom?
Partnerships.
Let me say it again. A black female journalist fears for her life this morning. Her children are facing abuse and threats. Well, guess what? I think it's dangerous when Donald Trump threatens members of the press. And I think it's dangerous when pop culture figures threaten members of the press, especially a black woman
doing her job,
who is only doing her job. You know what? We can have a debate whether the question should have been asked or not. We're so beyond that right now. We are so beyond that right now. What's the conspiracy of silence about, New York Times? Why aren't you writing about this? What about you, Washington Post? Wall Street Journal? Where are you? Viacom, where are you? A black woman has gone to bed, a journalist, in fear of her life for, what, 5, 6 days? And there's a conspiracy of silence. I heard LeBron, did I hear correctly? LeBron liked the Post?
Yes, and name one person on this set, name one person in entertainment doing talk shows who would post something like this that wouldn't be fired in 3 seconds.
And by the way, they were filming yesterday with Martha Stewart. They were filming yesterday for VH1, the Martha and Snoop series, Potluck Party Challenge. It's supposed to be on the air tomorrow night.
Viacom.
Yesterday,
that's Viacom, who, by the way,
yesterday they were filming. Martha Stewart was there, William Shatner was there, Tamar Braxton was there, Trey Songz was there. They were all there working with Snoop on set to film an edition of the show that will show.
And they say he
this
speaks
week.
for himself. They say he walked it back. He did an additional post, still leaving the threatening, profanity-laced post up that millions of people can watch right now. He did an additional post, sort of trying to make Gayle look older, trying to do little dog whistles while sort of saying maybe we're not violent. It was not an apology. He did not pull it back. He actually made it worse.
As far as the outcome is concerned, like it or not, it's over. I've had some verdicts that I haven't liked in my life, but I tried to honor it, make the most of it, and move on, and that's what I think we should do now. The other thing is this Kobe Bryant, Gayle King thing. I'm not the most objective guy when it comes to Gayle King. A few years back on national TV, she made a comment that it was inappropriate for me to be visiting my ex-wife's grave, something that me, my family, and friends on special occasions and birthdays and Christmas and stuff had done for years, and I couldn't understand why it was any of her business and why she would say that on national TV. I know this thing about Kobe, she's going to claim journalistic integrity. Whole lot of people got journalistic integrity, didn't feel that this was the right time to do that. There'll be plenty of time in the future to bring up all aspects of Kobe's life. Right now, we should be celebrating the greatness of Kobe Bryant. God bless Kobe and his family.